My story is about connection. And when I think about inclusion and accessibility, I think about the teachings from our elders, and particularly from my grandmother. And I wanted to share with you a bit of a story because our elders really provide our teachings. The teachings that are passed down from us orally, it's something we share with our children and with others, but also it's our connection and understanding. And that understanding is important because we have to think mindfully and respectfully of each other, and particularly our elders. But also, our elders are knowledge keepers, and those knowledge keepers pass down all of the experiences that have come before them as well. And most importantly, from those teachings, it's about listening, it's about learning, it's about sharing. And there's my grandmother there. Skananath was her name. And my introduction to accessibility and inclusion started as a young boy in a house with 12 of us living there. And if you see my grandmother, she used to do a lot of our speaking and welcomes and elder prayers with many groups that used to come to Vancouver. And so we had to be mindful of her eyesight. We had to be mindful of her physical challenges that she had. And so for me, that was something that I always carried forward. Now, those teachings that were passed on to me, when I think about the 2010 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games, this is a picture of our pavilion, the 2010 Aboriginal Pavilion. We had over 300,000 visitors to this location and to Vancouver Community College location. And to us, as we started to plan this, we thought of those founding principles that I just shared with you, coming from our teachings. How could we take care of our elders? How can we be mindful of people that were coming to visit us when we're telling our story, to make them feel a part of what we were doing and part of the story and part of the narrative. And so the shared experiences, even the pavilion itself was a combination of a longhouse, of a shed-style longhouse, because on the Coast Salish we have shed styles. When you go up the coast, they're more A-frame longhouses, but also of an Ishkin, of the Litwat people, the Stotlian people just past Whistler. And so they lived in Ishkins, which were circular houses, subsurface. So we combined both of those. And what you see here is a pavilion, both of a traditional and contemporary. It was a dome, 65 feet high. But as we built our ramps, we wanted to make sure that people were able to flow through our pavilion and be able to be a part of our story. They could take in the cuisine, they could see, but we also had people that were not just interpreters, but people that were hosts that could make sure that people who were there could understand what was happening, but also be a part of it. When you think about inclusive and respectful, we wanted to make sure also that as people came and heard the stories from every province and territory in Canada, from First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people, that we were respectful not only of cultures, but also any person that came into our pavilion. And that was part of that experience that you saw. You could hear it, you could see it. If you needed to be explained to you, we had people there to help you and support you. And so when we looked at building our understanding, as you could see, we had our own elders lounge, where our elders were not only the hosts, but we were hosting other people from other countries. We were hosting different athletes, whether they're Paralympians, whether they're people that were coming in with disabilities, but also we had children that we had to be mindful of as well even. And so the digital part of it, it's not a cell phone that you see up in the right-hand corner. That was actually a large-scale digital platform where we could storytell. And our relationship with the Paralympic Committee was really something. And I remember, Rick, when we were doing the opening for the Athletes Village here in Vancouver, Rick had talked to me, and that made a big impact on me. That's the messages that I'll continue to carry forward. The story that I'm just going to finish telling you is that we need to prepare and embrace for change, but that's going to take all of us. That takes every single one of us. When I first started working on the games, it was actually an elder that said to me, "Thank you for coming and talking to me," because it felt like there was a party happening, a birthday party happening inside the house, and I was looking through the window, and I wasn't invited. Well, we need to feel all invited to that party together, because in order to make real change in this country, if we could host the most successful Olympic Winter Games in the history of the Olympics, when we talk about peoples with inclusion and accessibility, we need to change the bar, and we will, but it's going to take all of us here together. And think about my grandmother and those teachings, to pass on the teachings and the stories that we hear today into our everyday lives. Thank you.